Thank you. My name is Stephen Lord. I'm from North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I want to speak against and for several bills here. The first one I'll talk about is 7199, which is the magazine bill. I think that if a police officer needs a large magazine to protect himself, I don't see that a civilian should have any less capability. I've never ever heard of anyone walking out of a situation where they were in a gunfight and saying, "Gee, I wish I had fewer rounds in my magazine." It's the more the better, frankly, and it doesn't matter how many rounds you have in your magazine. It matters what kind of person you are and what your intent is. I could have 100 or 1,000 rounds in my magazine, and nobody would ever be hurt in the slightest. A criminal intending to do harm could have half a dozen and cause great damage. So the number of rounds in the magazine has nothing to do with anything except people, generally speaking, when they go to pick a handgun for their own protection, would rather have more than less, up to whatever number is practical or readily available. You do nobody any good by restricting that. And I would point out also that Connecticut and New York have passed similar laws, and they've pretty much been ignored. The compliance levels are close to zero, and a lot of sheriffs and police chiefs have simply said, we're not going to enforce this because, frankly, it's impractical. The other question that comes along with that is that there are, some guns that don't have smaller capacity magazines available. Is the state going to buy them back from the people who can no longer use them? So anyway, that's about magazines. I'm very much for Bill 7390, which is the concealed carry bill, which standardizes the rules around getting a concealed carry license. That's only fair that the rules should be the same for everybody and not all over the place from town to town. That's a crazy situation. It needs to stop. I would also point out that 3 of the New England states, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, have constitutional carry, where you don't need any sort of a license to carry a firearm as long as you're a person who is legally able to carry a firearm. It cuts out a lot of the nonsense, and I would also point out that those 3 states have some of the lowest violence rates in New England and in the country. So the idea that we actually need to go through all this rigorous business of licensing people is really, it's proven to be unnecessary in other states, and I think that you would find that if it was implemented in Rhode Island, it would save everybody a lot of time and trouble, and you would have the negative consequences would be zero. The other thing, this bill against concealed carry in schools, that as it stands now, they talked about airports, courthouses, and so on not allowing concealed carry. Well, all those places have full-time police officers protecting them all the time. Most schools don't. In fact, certainly it would be not be a bad idea to do that, but it would be awfully expensive. There's no if you really want to make schools safer, I think you should go offer free training to teachers and let them carry concealed, those who are willing and able to do so, because frankly, if a terrorist or a crazy person decides that they're going to attack a school, they are going to plan it out ahead of time, and the only thing that's going to stop them is whatever happens to be on hand right at the time. almost every school massacre that's occurred, the person doing the massacre has taken his own life before the police ever arrived. And so, you know, whatever, all this bill does is guarantee that there would be nobody able to interfere. And that strikes me as a little bit crazy. Thank you.